Hey everyone, welcome to this podcast called Ken Reads, where I can read out your letter that you've shared with me in the hopes that I can better help you understand what the F just happened between you and the last partner you were dating, whether it was in a relationship or a situationship. I look at these experiences from the lens of attachment theory. I don't just come up with thought terminating cliches like, they're just not that into you, or if they wanted to, they would. While some of those phrases might have their benefit in other dynamics, I try and look at this from the lens of, is there perhaps an insecure attachment issue that's at play in these particular dynamics? And though I am an Australian counsellor, I am not someone who is going to be responding to these letters as if I was with a client. I'm here to provide validation, yes, but I can't provide any diagnoses on these. So even if, a lot of people might understandably hear this and be like, well, that sounds like a narcissist. At best, I'll probably say, sounds a bit narky. I probably won't go any further than that out of respect to my ethical boundaries in regards to what I can and can't do. If you find this of benefit to you, fantastic. That's what I want. And if you want to submit your letter, you're very welcome to once there is obviously availability per month. And I'll happily read out and share my own 2 cents as to what I think has gone on in your dating experience to offer you a sense of validation for what you've been through and also to give other people listening a chance to feel like maybe this relates to what they've also experienced as part of collective healing. So with that all out of the way, let's dive in to the latest letter. Next letter comes from Henry. Henry writes, Hey Ken, I've been watching your videos and really appreciate the way you hold space for vulnerability without judgment. I wanted to share a story that's been sitting heavy in my chest. A short-lived but intense connection that started like a movie and ended in emotional whiplash. I'm hoping for your insight on how to make sense of it. I'm down for it. As someone who's been through an experience that's quite like that, I'm ready to go through this with you. So, I've known this guy via social media for over a year. Let's call him SF Tech Daddy. That's an original name. SF Tech Daddy, since he is 16 years older than me and really successful in his tech career. But what's SF? Is that like San Francisco Tech Daddy? Either way, that's a pretty awesome name. We'd occasionally chat via Instagram, but it was always very surface level or reply to each other's Instagram stories or thirst traps. Fast forward to April 25 at Coachella. Well, that's quite recent. I was still working through past relationship issues from June of 24 and had zero plans to meet anyone. My friends even tried to hook me up with with a hot doctor from New York City, and I declined. Jesus, you got an interesting catalog of people, don't you? You got SF Tech Daddy, hot doctor from New York City. I'm kind of envious. Like you've got a really interesting little menu, don't you? But in all seriousness, this sounds like this story does obviously go into some quite painful places. So out of respect to you, Henry, let's keep going. But then SF Daddy saw my IG story that I'd be at Coachella and he asked to meet up. We exchanged numbers. Now, at first, I was hesitant. I even pretended I didn't have cell reception on day one and ignored his messages to me. But he kept texting and even texted me at 3 a.m. and I wished I got, and wished that I got to my Airbnb safely. I still didn't know why, but I agreed to meet him on day two. Okay, let's take a pause here. This can happen from avoidance where they tend to really push the boundaries and really press to meet someone. I've had this happen to me. This is something that I think at first you can sort of be like, oh, that's cute. But then at the same time, it can be annoying because you're like, bro, get a hint. I'm not into you. But I think we've also conditioned ourselves into thinking that if someone who looks mildly attractive does that to us, it means they're into us. Oh my God, maybe I should give this a go. It could be the one. And so we kind of almost FOMO ourselves into this, which is not a good thing. And this behavior from people like SF Daddy, love that name, can actually be a bit in the realm of grooming because if we think about it like this, SF Daddy is 16 years older than you, right? And Henry, you're in a bit of a vulnerable position because you've also just are still working through a past relationship, from what I understand. And it seems like he's really pushing you in terms of wanting to connect, and he's not responding well to boundaries when you declined him when you said you just ignored him and you didn't have any cell reception on day one. So it does suggest to me that this guy really knows how to push buttons. I find as a gay man in this community, it can be very easy at times, I think, to get a little bit wobbly at the knees when this happens because it can feel good to have someone chasing. However, as someone who has also done a lot of trauma healing, this is a very clear red flag from SF Daddy that it's like he does not know how to respect boundaries and he's being a bit predatory. So just putting it out there. Anyways, when we connected, the connection between me and SF Daddy was instant. He came on strong, saying things like, when I see you, I just know I have to have you. And I haven't connected with anyone like this in years. At Coachella, he would just stare at me, hold me, kiss me. It all felt magnetic. Yep, I bet it did. I know what that feels like. On the last day, when we said our final goodbye, as I walked away and turned my head back, he just stood there and couldn't move his eyes away from me and smiled at me. I'm not gonna lie, that moved my heart a little. Yeah, I bet it did. I mean, this is hot. This is magnetic. This is, intense chemistry. And I mean, if you, like I said, going to that point of vulnerability, right? If you are vulnerable off the back of a bad breakup that you had back in 24 and you haven't really resolved that yet in 25, and no shame, by the way, it's just to say that I think if you were a bit closed off, your heart was closed off, having a guy who you've just had a really romantic connection with at Coachella, which is in and of itself a very high octane experience, then looking to see this guy who's been so magnetic staring at you as you leave would make you feel like, oh my God, I feel wanted and desired and seen and heard, and it feels amazing. So yeah, I think this makes a lot of sense. After the Coachella weekend, I figured it would just be a fun rave fling type of thing, as these things can often be. Yes, you're absolutely right. But to my surprise, started FaceTiming me every day. Fuck, that escalated. Sending selfies and voice notes and saying things that made me feel like I wasn't just a cute weekend distraction. Okay, pause. Henry, I wonder, do you sometimes feel that you have been a bit of a cute weekend distraction, or you have been maybe made to feel like you are not good enough at times? Because when I read that, I got a little flavor that you've maybe been not treated well in the past. You've been maybe discarded by people abruptly. You haven't been respected, seen, and heard in a proper way. And maybe you've almost gotten used to being in that role of being sort of the distraction for a while, and you haven't actually had your needs properly met. It sounds to me like even when you said that, I'm wondering, have you had an experience where you've been dealing with a lot of unavailable guys? Just putting it out there because there was something in that that just made me feel like you sound like you've been through a lot of pain prior to this experience. Anyways, circling back to SF Daddy, I really did believe I was someone he truly saw. Also, he made it clear without me asking that he is looking for a serious relationship. And not into anything casual or hookup nature, which is extremely rare in the gay dating world at this moment. Yes, I would agree with that. Those first 10 days felt incredible, and it also felt like something real was building. He visited me in Seattle twice, staying 3 days each time. Okay, let's take a moment here just to say, for context, for those of you who are not part of Alphabet Soup Land, um, yeah, particularly for gay men, we often do have a lot of one night standers, which I know can exist in straight dating too. But we often do experience a lot of really shitty relational stuff. In fact, I'm going to just go out on a limb and say LGBTQA plus relational trauma is statistically more severe than heterosexual dating, which is not to say we should minimize what happens in straight dating. It's just to say that we often have high incidences of shit fuckery. That's one aspect of it. The other thing I also want to press too is I think that what I was saying before about the scarcity piece, like the FOMO of like, oh my God, what if I don't meet someone like this because they're a person who's not only seemingly old, successful, but they're also someone I'm into and they say they want a relationship. That can just really pull the heartstrings a bit and make you feel like, well, maybe this is it. Because in the gay community, most men aren't looking for, a monogamous relationship, emphasis on monogamous. And so maybe this is it. So I really feel for Henry here because it does feel like, and I think you have very good reasons as to why you feel like, hell, this is moving in the right direction. And I imagine I'd feel like, oh my God, this is just what I need, right? So yeah, After the, oh wait, let me see. I've read that. Okay. Those first 10 days we were together felt incredible. It also felt like something real was building. He visited me in Seattle twice, stayed with me 3 days each time. Whoa. During one of those visits, I was previously invited to the Kylie Minogue concert, but it's a friend suite, so I couldn't bring SF Daddy with me. Coincidentally, he'd also gotten tickets through work, though we ended up sitting in different sections. During the All the Lovers, he texted me, "You are my Seattle lover." Oh, beautiful. This message hit me like a wave. Yeah, I bet it did. Right in the middle of the music, the lights, the emotion. It felt like the ultimate love bomb. Yeah, well, it is, but I can imagine it was laced with affection. I remember clutching my phone and feeling something in me just soften, completely swept up in the fantasy. Yeah, but I mean, we have to remember too that fantasy can often, have a lot of infatuation and, affection thrown into it too. So I don't want to make it seem like just because it's fantasy, it doesn't mean that it's like it's fake completely or it's not real. I think it's young. It's definitely in the realm of limerence, but I don't want to dismiss it as like, oh, you're just following someone who's misleading you. No, I think it's like inner children. It's like two little boys that have come together and being like, "You're my forever friend. Oh my God, you're my forever friend. Wow, we can be together." It's young, it's cute, it's naive, it's, lots of frivolity. Like, I mean, that's really what it is, if I'm being reductive, amongst other things. SF Daddy told me his best friend said, I haven't seen him this obsessed with someone in over 15 years. Oh. He also told me, among everyone in my life, friends or work, I talk to you the most. And in those moments, I believed it. I somehow believe that I am finally someone special, which I feel is really sad of me. No, I think maybe that speaks to some trauma you've experienced due to neglect. And again, it kind of ties into something I was saying before. I think there's might be an experience you've had of not being chosen and not feeling worthy that might be worth considering in therapy. But I think that feeling special is okay. Hey, it's okay to feel like you're special. But again, maybe this is something to think about in the context of a therapy session. I then flew down to visit SF Daddy and I'm thinking that's why he's SF Daddy, because you're visiting him in San Francisco. There you go. The trip felt deeply romantic. I met his friends, we had dinners, worked out together, went on a road trip. Oh my God, it's so amazing. And the level of physical intimacy we shared was unlike anything I'd felt in years. I'm assuming, even though a lot is happening, it's still not a very long situationship at this point, meaning that you've almost become boyfriends without the label and also without like a lot of history together. The sex wasn't just hot, it felt emotionally healing, especially months after being disconnected sexually while on antidepressants. Oh, yeah, you've had a history of some bad stuff. Like you wouldn't be on antidepressants for nothing, Henry. I finally felt reconnected with myself, with someone else, and with him. But then the little things started to surface. Ah, yes, as they always do. What happened? What did SF Daddy start doing? He introduced me as a quote unquote friend to people. Oh, that's fucked. It's like, bro, no, you're not just friends. He would say things like, work always comes first, you'll be my second, and my dog is third. What a prioritized system SF Daddy has. He'd also say, I'm a loyal person in relationships, but hard to commit. Some part of me appreciates his honesty, but some part of me keeps analyzing deeper meaning into these. Yeah, I'll even go a little bit further with that. Him saying I'm a loyal person in relationships, but hard to commit. That's like saying, well, I'm really good at showing up to work, but I won't stay here for long. It's like, well, you might as well be disloyal because that's just totally not helpful. And I do think that he definitely has strong feelings for you, hence the initial love bombing. But I think that the minute this got real, it started to become a case of, now let me deprioritize you. He's a dismissive avoidant from the sounds of it. When I got emotional or vulnerable, like telling him I was crying because I'm anxious about the dental surgery, but it's comforting to hear his voice, he gave brief reassurance, then quickly pivoted into joking. You can't suck any dicks this weekend. Whoa, okay. And he also would add this while we weren't in the same city on those weekends. So he was suggesting he thinks I would do random hookups, which bothers me that he thinks that. Yeah, it's a very interesting thing. So it seems to me like he's implying that you would somehow just go off and not be monogamous in this relationship, which is interesting because it's kind of like This guy, SF Daddy, has whelmed you into a relationship, romantically speaking. And even if you aren't in an official relationship, it's interesting where his brain goes, which is clearly coming from his own trauma. He's trying to obviously start emotionally detaching himself from you. And saying things like, well, you can't suck any dicks tonight, I think really speaks to a pejorative view he has of relationships, a negative view he has towards you in terms of what he was expecting you would do, even though you probably wouldn't do that. Because it seems like at this point, you're only into him, Henry. Like it doesn't seem like you're off wanting to go around and sleep around with other people. If anything, it sounds to me like you're actually like, nah, I'm fully on board with this. So this reminds me so much of a letter I did, I think it was 93, where I was talking about this person in a lesbian relationship where the older woman had said she'd done like 15 relationships and she'd sort of gone cold when she'd gotten to a point of escalating her partner into a very monogamous relationship. But I think to say, oh, you can't suck any dicks this weekend, that's just so unfair. It's like, bro, why would Henry go off and do that? Like, just that's such a mean thing to say. And it's also a form of self-sabotage because Henry, you don't like you've been intentionally single from the sounds of it. You might have like slept with someone, but like it sounds to me like your heart and your energy has not been into sleeping around since last year. And I'm assuming you were pretty heartbroken. And I wouldn't be surprised if you had another pretty bad breakup last year as well, too, in 24. But yeah, I think this is just not okay sort of stuff to say. It really is a form of self-sabotage that SF Daddy is doing of trying to like distance himself from you now and and to mentally make out that you're someone that you're not. Anyways, one day after I got home from San Francisco, yes, I know, checked Grindr and saw he was online just a couple of hours after. Oh, that's terrible. I didn't expect exclusivity, but it hit me. Well, I think you actually did deserve to feel exclusivity because let's be real. He's saying to you that he wants to be loyal. He says he only wanted a monogamous relationship with you. So I actually think you have every right to feel that exclusivity was on the table with the way he was behaving. I'm sorry, he's being emotionally abusive. So I don't like SF Daddy's behavior with you. Not okay. It confirmed a gut feeling. I was emotionally opening up while he was keeping the door cracked for other options. Suddenly I started to panic that I was more invested than he was. No, he's invested. He's now just, starting to shut down and pull away to protect himself emotionally. He's very much a dismissive avoidant and probably got some other personality stuff going on too. He wasn't cruel, but he was emotionally avoidant. Yeah. Intimacy seemed to scare him. Yes. And all those small moments started triggering my anxious attachment. I knew it. I was aware of it. I even used ChatGPT to process my spirals and practice self-soothing. Still, I'm okay with him not being exclusive yet, as long as I'm still his priority, like you said. Also, I was technically still on Grindr too, and we'd never had a discussion of getting off Grindr. Okay, can I just make a point about this? He wouldn't have seen you on Grindr, and even if he did, he probably wouldn't have cared. It would have confirmed a belief in him being like, see, he's just not wanting to commit to this relationship, so I guess I can just do whatever I want. He has a negative thought of you. And what I mean by this, and I'll be very clear, is it doesn't mean he doesn't like you. It doesn't mean he thinks you're sleeping around with other people. What it means is he has a narrative in his head that he's using to justify his distance. We weren't together. Henry and I were just simply fucking around. We can just do whatever we want. Maybe he's the kind of gay guy that just likes to sleep around with a bunch of guys and he can do whatever he wants. But all of this is self-protection because he doesn't want to get intimate with you. And I mean, ChatGPT sounds like it's done a fantastic job in supporting you. I'm a big fan, by the way, of AI helping people in these cases. So just for those of you who want to know, shameless little plug from me. My AI is dropping at the end of July. So for those of you who are interested, you can always join the wait list that we're promoting. And I'm super keen for anyone who's interested in that because it will help a lot of people. And the regular GPTs are still really good too. Anyways, um, Well, and I know we never had discussion on getting off Grinder, though I hadn't chatted it with or hooked up with anyone else since him, which I realize is a bad strategy. No, actually, it's a good strategy. As far as I'm concerned, you're actually being faithful. So I think you're actually doing a good thing. I know you might want to be protecting your heart in the future, but dating multiple people is not always a guaranteed way of doing that. I think a lot of the time, people who have anxious attachment are told just date more people. And I don't always think that's the best way to go about it. So my approach is do what feels right. Don't force yourself to do things that don't feel good to you. Anyways, but then the final straw happened. This week, I had a pretty extensive 4-hour dental surgery. While I was recovering, bloody, sore, medicated, my friends and family checked in on me constantly. SF Daddy? Just 2 short messages. I didn't get upset. I figured maybe he was slammed with work. No, no, he just didn't want to engage with you. This is such a classic dismissive avoidant thing, and regular listeners will know this because they've heard this sort of story before. We've had so many readings from men, women, people in the LGBT community, including transgender individuals who've gone through very similar experiences where their dismissive avoidant partner has not shown up for them when they're in health crises. So this is classic DA sort of stuff, and it's not okay. He's not busy with work. He's avoiding you because it brings up too much discomfort in him. A close friend in San Francisco asked if SF Daddy checked in on me. I said, just a little bit. He's probably busy. My friend replied and said, oh, I mean, I just saw him at Equinox and he's been online on Grindr. And I froze. It hit me like a brick. I asked myself the one question that finally cut through the fog. Is this someone I could see myself in a long-term relationship with? And the answer was a clear no. Good on you. It's not about being on Grindr or hooking up with people. It's about being on it while your lover is in extreme pain and you don't even care nor reach out while you were pretending you were busy at work. 1 billion fucking percent, Henry. Yes, 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 yes. You nailed it. I love what you've said. So I broke up. Oh God, I bet he had a shitty response to this. I wrote a broke up message. I kept it honest and respectful. I didn't mention Grindr. I now wish I had, but I told him I needed more emotional availability than I'd been feeling from him. He responded coldly, yikes. Then, you're texting me like a kid. Projection. He is the kid. Just putting it out there. There was no effort to understand where I was coming from. Yeah, this sounds like my avoidant ex. Just all I'm going to say is been there, done that. I know what it feels like. It's fucking terrible. I immediately called to try and clarify, thinking maybe the message came across wrong. No, your message did not come across wrong. But he answered clearly, upset, and yelled, oh God, I need to have some alone time. You're being very inappropriate. You are not my boyfriend. Wow, wow, wow. Let's unpack that short yet very charged answer. I need to have some alone time. I can't handle this feeling of shame. I need to get away from it because it's terrible. I need to get away from this because it makes me feel bad. You're being very inappropriate. I'm actually being very inappropriate. I don't like how this makes me feel, so I'm going to make it seem like you're the one with the problem because avoidance on the severe end will make you responsible for their shit. Finally, you are not my boyfriend. I don't want to admit the fact that you're my boyfriend because it makes me feel relieved and not owning up to my responsibility in this, and it makes me then feel like, well, I clearly did nothing wrong. What a coward. What a grooming, predatory, dismissive, see you next Tuesday. Shit fucking guy. I know he probably has done some amazing stuff when you were together at Coachella, but just shit fuckery. I was stunned. Bleeding and in pain from the surgery, I just hung up without saying anything. Yeah, good on you. Fuck, I would be devastated, and I'm so sorry you've gone through this, Henry. Hell, if you want a session, reach out. I'll happily listen to you. That moment shook me, not just because of what he said, but because it was such a stark, jarring contrast to the person who had once looked at me like I was magic. It was not the sweet, mature daddy that I adored so much, but now I think about it, it is the same face that he would make when he got into road rage in San Francisco. It's the same face when he got into a physical fight with some random guy at a gym and also fat shamed them by sending me their pics. Wow. Okay, this guy definitely sounds like he's got some narcissistic traits. It's the same angry face when he talked about how his old employees filed sexual harassment lawsuits against him. See, I told you it's grooming and predatory what he's doing. He deserves those lawsuits. I've been through this before, so I know what it's like. I can spot this shit from a mile away. I should have seen these red flags early on, but I was blinded by the love bombing. His love bombing was actually very grooming, and a lot of gay men go through this and don't realize it. I can spot grooming sort of behavior from a mile away, and I've called it out in a lot of gay workshops, and they often look at me with like, deer in the headlights sort of stuff. And I'm like, this is predatory. Look at this. And they're like, but I like being chased. It's like, no, well, I mean, you do, but that's for trauma reasons. Anyways, just saying, I know what this is like. It's not cool. Your body remembers this shit. It's awful. Um, or maybe I was desperate for love. Yeah, yes, yes. And maybe it was both, as you wrote. Yes, it is both. Absolutely. And that's all trauma and emotional neglect. There's so much I could, talk to you about with this, Henry. But yeah, a lot of this makes so much sense to me. Anyways, I'm still feeling the aftershock. I know I made the right call, but my body feels like it's still waiting for some kind of emotional recognition or closure. Yeah, because you're stuck in trauma time. Some part of me still wants him to validate that what we shared was real, even if he couldn't hold on to it. Oh, I feel that so badly. Secret to that is learning to validate it for yourself. But that's easier said than done. Oh man, Henry, I feel really sorry for what you've been through. You didn't deserve this. A younger version of me just wants to give you a hug and say, I'm really sorry that you've gone through this experience because I really get it. As a counselor, I wouldn't actually hug you though. But the point simply is to say, I feel for you. I'm been in your shoes before. I know what it's like. I haven't dated someone quite like that, but I've had enough sort of experiences like that to be like, yeah, I know where this is going. So yeah, my questions are, how do I rebuild trust in myself after this kind of soft heartbreak? Soft? You reckon this was soft heartbreak? Bro, if you're calling this soft, I think one of the steps to rebuilding trust is to recognize the significance of the damage of what you've been through. Secondly, rebuilding trust. It really is, like I said, I sort of alluded to before about trusting your own intuition and your reality of a situation. So what I'd recommend for you is to learn how to really recognize what your body is telling you and to also recognize when things aren't going well. It's also about owning your narrative about this. Having a clear narrative of these experiences really helps. So it can be very powerful in recovery off the back of it. You then ask, was this love bombing or just emotional immaturity, or was it my anxious attachment? No, it was absolutely more than just either of those things. It was emotional immaturity, there was love bombing, but it was also predatory and grooming sort of stuff as well too. And I'm going to call it that because he's an older man hitting on you. And I want to make it very clear, not all older people are predatory or grooming, and not all old men who are into younger men are predatory or grooming in a gay context. I get that. However, the way he went about it was absolutely ticking all those boxes off. Anyways, what can I do better in the future to not get caught in something like this again? I actually think a lot of this starts with probably some of the recovery that didn't happen off the back of what I assume you went through in 24, meaning I think you have some unfinished business from a past breakup. I think you need to heal from both this and the past breakup. You definitely need to get to the root of why you're probably on antidepressants as well too. In this context, it's not up to me to work on that because outside of obviously in a counseling session, because I'm just here as an edutainer in this context. But what I think it really is learning to trust your intuition and also to have boundaries, because that was lacking when this guy was blowing up your phone. So you've got to be really careful of that. And last question, why is it so hard to let go of someone who clearly wasn't showing up? How to get closure without a final talk? Okay, the first part of this is really significant. It's hard to let go of someone who wasn't showing up because it replicates childhood trauma. You've likely gone through neglect or a person who has emotionally and or physically abandoned you and made you not feel lovable or special. You've also probably gotten to a point where you feel like maybe this is all there is, that like relationships are just like this, where I get left and I'm just seen as someone who's an accessory rather than the main piece of a relationship. And so it feels amazing when someone actually chooses you. It's really important to understand that this has probably also reactivated some of that hurt that's probably inside of you. That's my hunch. I could be wrong, but I guess that's probably what's happened. So how do you get closure without a final talk? You probably will have a final conversation at one point, but even if that's deprived to you, there are ways to achieve it. You can do work like internal family systems work, inner child work, where you connect with that part of yourself. Do things like a do-over, which is a lot of a visualization exercise where you can imagine what it would have been like if you'd gone through it again and you'd protected your younger self. But outside of that, I think that, if you were to interact with this guy again, the closure might just be more disappointment with realizing how he's just behaving really badly. I think this guy's got serious issues, and I think he uses his power and his position as a way to take advantage of people. So it's not okay. Thank you for reading this and for everything you share. Your work has helped me feel a little less alone in all this. Oh, you're so welcome, Henry. Again, I just want to say I'm extending this out because I feel for you. Because look, for full transparency, as a fellow gay man who's gone through experiences like this, I know what it's like to be through situations like this. You don't have to take my offer up, that's fine. But I just want to say, like, I really feel for you because I'm like, I know what it's like to go through this shit fuckery. It's the worst. And it's just so, so painful to go through, especially when we don't have a lot of resourcing available for us compared to, I think, more straight dynamics that go through this. So, yeah. Anyways, thank you for sharing this. I'm sorry you've been through this, and I hope this was validating and supportive for you.